Welcome back, everybody. This is Brother Mutant here. Today we're continuing on our exploration of all the feats available to us in Wrath of the Righteous. Again, this game is in early beta, so things may change, so grain of salt with a lot of the stuff we're doing here. But by and large, feats are usually baked in and they know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a while. So a lot of these are going to be old hat, ones that we've seen in Kingmaker, ones that we've already talked about, so I'll kind of guide through some of those. We've already talked about all the ones with the green thumb in the last video that I just uploaded not too long ago. Hopefully that will be of some value to you guys. That also included a lot of the ones down below. Why? Because Greater Bull Rush is up here in the green thumb category, but Bull Rush is not. So we had to skip on down to Bull Rush and talk about it, so we can explain what Greater Bull Rush was capable of doing. So again, that's why some of these we're going to kind of fly through. Today we're going to try to cover all the ones that are not the green thumb, but also not the red thumb, which are these ones down here, and certainly not these ones down here, because these are straightforward. You get proficiency in it, you can use them. Straightforward, simple. The weird thing about these ones, just one last thing to talk about this real quick, is simple weapon proficiency, solid upgrade. A lot of classes get this, a lot of classes don't. You'd be surprised at how many don't get simple weapon proficiency. But some will get enough of what you're seeing in that list to the right there to serve your purposes. Again, a wizard, for example, having the ability to use a dagger, or a quarterstaff, and like a crossbow. Usually that's all they really give a damn about. They have a ranged weapon, they have a pokey weapon, and they have a smacky weapon with the quarterstaff. And that's fine. Martial weapon proficiency, again, much broader, bigger list. Having said that, again, clicking or getting just this ability, if you didn't have it before, is easy enough to get, and you should definitely want it, because it opens up the world of all kinds of cool weapons to your character's use. The weird thing, the reason I bring this up is the weird thing here is we could get, actually put that down here, a feat called exotic weapon proficiency, but notice the list here. First, it requires that you have to have a BAB of 1, which means you have to be some kind of skilled fighter type. Again, I shouldn't say fighter, but again, just a +1 to your swing. Again, a wizard can get that at level 2, and therefore at level 3 will be the first chance they'd have to pick that up. That's fine. The list is interesting. I don't know that I give a rat's ass about most of the things in this list. There's some good stuff in here. The Falcata, the Shard, the Estoc, Elven Curve Blade are decent choices. Bastard Sword 2, Dueling Sword's fun. There's ways to get it for free that doesn't require you burning in a very precious spell fee. But the weird thing about this one, unlike the two before it, the simple weapon proficiency and martial weapon proficiency, these ones apparently are so exotic. You have to pick one weapon every time you pick this feat. So again, if I want to be skilled in the Tongi and the two-bladed sword, I have to pick this feat twice. One for the Tongi, one for the two-bladed sword. This is the only one of those weapon proficiencies that actually does this to you. So that seems weird to me, and I figured I'd bring that to your attention, just in case I forget to bring it up later. So that's something to talk about at some other point. However, back to what we were talking about here. What do we have? Aldori Dueling Mastery. Again, notice the prerequisites. I have a mod that's allowing me to pick everything, which is a bullshit lie. You will not do this to yourself. But notice, again, weapon focus and dueling sword, proficiency in the dueling sword, weapon finesse, a dex-based build, so a dexterity of 13 minimum, a solid choice for a lot of people, and again, enough intelligence to be skilled in it, which is a weird thing that they've added, something that I don't believe exists in Kingmaker. But notice what this gives you. For the big dip, let's just say it, for dueling sword, which is a solid weapon, you get a little bit interesting here. You get a +2 to your initiative check so long as you start the combat round with a dueling sword in your hand. Also, if you're wielding the dueling sword in one hand, leaving your spare hand free, your offhand open, you get a +2 shield bonus to your armor class, because again, you're dueling, you're fencing and blocking attacks, and as such, they'll give you a +2 shield bonus. Now, obviously, this is something that's not going to be better than, say, a shield spell or an actual shield proper, because again, you can have a shield proper that has, like a heavy shield that's got a +1 to +5 enchantment, and clearly that'll be better. But for people that want to go light, again, on a dex-based build, getting some free armor is always appreciated, right? So again, is this a great pick? It's alright. I don't mind it. I'm a bigger fan of the initiative bonus, because as you guys may not know, the initiative check, when we start all combat rounds, there's an initiative roll. That rolls a 1d20 for everybody, and that excludes the bad guys, your team, allies, pets, summons, anything of that nature, gets to roll, and their dex modifier gets added into it, assuming they have one, and any other bonuses, again, like this bonus that we just talked about, this +2. So the higher your initiative bonus, the higher you are up on the totem pole. You get to act first. That acting first really does add a lot of bang for your buck. So again, on a dex-based build, something that's going to get a nice dex modifier, this is another nice addition. So again, more of a chance for you to land the first blow, or several blows, or run across the battlefield and stab someone in the face, or before they run over to you, chug a potion, or you get the idea. So a high initiative is always appreciated. The extra armor is just gravy on top. Notice there is the last part of this too. Though the Dueling Sword deals slashing damage typically as the weapon of choice, it is considered a piercing weapon for determining effects of weapons used by the duelist. So again, when you get to the duelist class, this is more important. So again, the ability to pierce a target, so like a rapier, for example. The Dueling Sword in this case, instead of being slashing, will be a piercing weapon, which again, the Aldori dueling mastery kind of makes sense that, you know, they would be part of the dueling school. So it's nice, probably something that if they don't get it for free for being the Aldori dueling sword master, that's a lot of words that I can say, certainly something that you might want to pick up. And again, just because you go Aldori dueling sword doesn't mean you have to use that, I don't think. I think you can go rapier, you can go S-stock, or any number of weapons. But, I mean, it's kind of weird to be a specialist in the dueling sword and then not use the dueling sword. So, again, having said that, this could be of interest. Notice other things or other classes that might make some use of this. I play traditionally a Sword Saint, another type of Magus, and then you get to pick whatever weapon you want. So remember our bitching here a moment ago about the exotic weapon proficiency, making me pick a weapon to be proficient in? When you were a Sword Saint, at level 1, Sword Saint, you pick any weapon. That could be simple, martial, or exotic. Period. Doesn't matter. And you're considered not only proficient in it, but they even give you weapon focus in it, something that you shouldn't be able to have at level 1, because your BAB is +0 as a Sword Saint. So that's a nice upgrade. So again, Dueling Sword is a solid choice. Now imagine a Dueling Sword build where your hand is free, because almost always is, because you're casting spells anyway, right? You can see the appeal. Bonus to your initiative check, shield bonus. Yes, you may have a shield spell that you can cast. They wear off, they get dispelled. Wouldn't you like to have +2 instead of +0 if someone dispels it? I know I would. So you can see the appeal here. And then you are probably going to take all the things that are on this list anyway. You're a Sword Saint, so your intelligence has to be better than 3. You got weapon focus for Dueling Sword for free if that's your chosen weapon. And proficiency in Dueling Sword again as well for free, because it's your chosen weapon. Your dexterity is probably high because a Sword Saint does not have armor. It relies on spells, intelligence, and of course dexterity to carry themselves in battle. Weapon finesse, again, as a dex-based build, you would probably going to pick that up anyway. So literally at level 1, you could pick up everything on this list by going Sword Saint. Especially if you want to go human. You could pick up weapon finesse, you pick Dueling Sword as your chosen weapon, and then you pick Aldori Dueling Mastery, if they'll let you do that. Why do I say if? Because literally if you pick things in the wrong order, they won't let you go back and repick something else. So when you're leveling up, literally they may make you pick these 2 feats before you get your chosen weapon. If you get your chosen weapon, they may not let you backpedal to this spot. Just be aware that that's a thing. But if not, that's a nice upgrade for a human right off the bat. Weapon finesse, a weapon focus, and a really good weapon, and they all do a dueling mastery, boom, right off the bat. That's not a bad upgrade. So again, very cool, definitely worth looking into. Arcane Strike. This is another one of those that falls under the magic category or spellcaster category, even though we already covered that. That didn't include this feat because it's a combat associated feat. This one we've talked about in the past. You have to be an arcane caster. The higher your caster level, the more important it is. Because if you're just a caster level 1, you get a +1 to your damage of any weapon. It is a swift action. I bitched about this a moment ago on the last video, just to reiterate my point in case someone's talking to the devs or the devs watch this channel for whatever reason. I would make this a clickable ability instead of a toggle. Since it is burning up a swift action and it seems to be counterintuitive to other swift actions you might want to employ at the start of each round, shutting this off is keeping you from activating another swift action. Or at least upon the last patch it was. So it might be something that could still be of issue. I would have literally turned this into a collectible. Why? Because it is supposed to be a swift action. Why not just make it, oh, I'm going to use Arcane Strike, buff up, swift action, click it, My swift action is burnt. Now I know that I did that thing. For this one and only round, I'll get a +1 up to a +5 to my damage with whatever weapon. And that really is whatever weapon you're wielding. So if it is a melee weapon, +5. Best case scenario. If it is a ranged weapon, like a bow and arrow, if it's a crossbow, if it's a javelin, again, still +5, just to the damage. And it's nice that you can get this, because it really is extremely powerful for that reason. Notice your weapon's also considered magic for purposes of overcoming damage reduction. So while not the best case scenario, literally until you find a +1 weapon or can make one with your spells, this is a nice upgrade for you for, again, overcoming some of that low level DR that some of the bad guys might have. This one routinely makes the cut on many of my builds, especially in Kingmaker, because it works a little bit better over there. But in Wrath of the Righteous, it still might make the cut. Why? Because I'm usually caster level 20 by the end of the build anyway, so a solid +5 to my damage is a +5 to my damage. I'll appreciate that. But not just that. Normally I would have taken, just to show you one up here, greater weapon specialization and weapon specialization. Notice it requires fire levels that I normally can't get. Sword Saints can, but it's only a +2 to damage. Same with weapon specialization, the one you need to get this one. Another +2 to your damage, and only with the weapon that you're choosing. So you literally will pick a weapon, again, like Dueling Sword, for example. But that means I'm only getting a +2, eventually a +4 to that weapon of choice, that one and only weapon. Whereas if I need to pitch hit and switch over to a crossbow, Arcane Strike is just going to give me the buff. And it's not only going to give me the buff, it's going to be more than both those other feats we just talked about. Because it's a +2 and a +2 for both of them, for only one weapon. Whereas this is potentially a +5 to any weapon I equip. Now again, on a Sword Saint, you're probably stuck with the weapon of choice. But notice this also works for when you 2-weapon wield. Both weapons are going to get that +1 up to +5 because you're wielding a weapon. So again, solid choice here. And again, the fact that it's a +5 eventually, it's really nice. All plus, no minus is the way I constantly refer to this one. But remember, you have to be an Arcane caster. So here's some good news, though, that you probably didn't know. There are, and maybe this will change, because again, we are in beta, there are mythic paths. You will get a spell book at each mythic path you choose, depending on which one you have. I don't know if this is different for any of the others, but for the Lich, it's definitely considered an Arcane spellcaster. How do I know this? Because I can pick up, without this mod, Arcane Strike after I become a fighter Lich. Literally, a purist fighter, which is like I'm starting right now. A purist fighter, and then I get Lich. I unlock the mythic path for Lich, and I get that spellbook, which again is a standalone spellbook at that point, since I don't have other wizard or sorcerer spellbook to merge it with. It is my own spellbook, but it's considered arcane casting, and therefore it counts for anything that says, can you cast arcane spells? Sure can, I'm a Lich. Boom, problem solved. You get Arcane Strike, baby. Same with the other ones. I don't know who's considered arcane, so don't ask. But some are considered arcane, some are considered divine casting. How do I know that? Because there's another feat. Gotta find it. Is it in the thumbs down category? Maybe it's not considered a combat feat. But there's another feat called War Priest. And War Priest is literally a decent bonus, again, to intimidation, much like we just saw, and something else. I just can't remember off the top of my brain what it is. But War Priest has a requirement. War Priest requirement is that you have divine casting. And that's it. Again, much like this one here, where you have to have arcane spells, you have to have divine spells. And again, many of the mythic paths unlock that ability. So again, without the mod, you can go War Priest even if you're not a priest, because your mythic path gave you divine spells. Another note is because of Lich mythic path, if I wanted to go, say, again, Eldritch Knight, part of Eldritch Knight is you are a martial weapon proficiency character, which we are as a fighter at level 1, poof, problem solved. But the next problem is you need to be able to cast level 3 spells. So if you can cast level 3 spells, arcane spells, doesn't matter how you can cast them, you can make yourself an Eldritch Knight. Well, there's a lot of different arcane classes in this game. Magus are considered arcane casters. Obviously, wizards and sorcerers fall under this category. Witches, I believe, fall under this category. Bards, I believe, are considered arcane casters. So again, there's a lot of different ways to unlock, if you will, Eldritch Knight. But if you don't go any casting and just pick the Lich mythic path and unlock level 3 spells, which will take a little bit of time, but you can get there, suddenly you get to be, guess what? A Eldritch Knight again. So I could be a purist fighter 20, 10 levels of Lich, And that fighter of 20, I could take some of those away and make those Eldritch Knight levels. Because as soon as Lich unlocks level 3 arcane spells, I've met the requirement. Just wanted to point that out too. So there's some weird fun to have here for those characters that are like, well, I like Eldritch Knight, I love all the stuff that comes with it. I don't really need lots of spells, but I'd like some good ones. The Lich has those, solves my problem, but I really don't want to water down my character because I love being a freaking fighter that has like all kinds of fucking feats. Well, again, this is a way for you to do it and still expand your spell book, because Eldritch Knight will allow you to expand that spell book and increase the caster level, I think. Haven't tested that theory yet, but it should. Notice we have armor focus. This is another one that's split into 3 categories. So we have light, medium, and heavy. Your choice. It doesn't matter what you pick other than the fact that it limits your +1 buff to your armor to whatever category we're talking about. So if you're using plate mail, full plate, half plate, or banded mail, that's your heavy armor. If you're using, which by the way, devs, I really wish you, since it's easy to type, and no offense, but if you're going to give us this much information, the least you do is tell us what heavy armor counts as. So put parentheses, list the 3 or 4 types of heavy armor that are in the game. That'd just be nice, just saying. Same with light. This will work for padded leather, studded leather, and chain shirt, and the new one, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but there's another piece of armor out there that it's like wicker, that the samurais would use to deflect attacks to themselves. And again, it's a lot like padded armor. It's only like a +1 to your armor class. But again, that would count as light armor. Medium armor is your hide armor, chain mail, not shirt, scale mail, breastplate. So again, whichever you're more inclined to use, pick the one here. That makes sense. Again, let's just say medium. And anytime you wear any kind of medium armor, you'll get another +1 to your armor class. But again, is that amazing? No. Is it helpful? Yeah. Remember, this will not help you for touch armor, because it will only work for the armor itself, which means your full armor bonus and your flat-footed armor bonus, you'll get it. And that's the only places this will add to it. Sure, you can grab all 3. That seems wasteful because you can only use one at any given time. But again, I would say, if I'm a rogue, whatever, where I'm like fairly certain I'm going to be using like leathers, light armor. And again, it's just a +1. Is it amazing? No. But is it helpful? Yeah. Again, keeps things from hitting you. Certainly you can see the appeal. Back to back, notice the piss yellow color. This was a teamwork feat. Still is. We covered that in another video, so we're not going to talk about it here. Blind fight. One of my favorites. Again, it sucks when you can't get it, and it sucks more when you have to get it like level 17 or 18. But when you can pick this up, because again, there's not much in the way of requirements, as in there are none, this is an amazing upgrade. When it's needed, obviously. All it really does is allow you to, well, it does several things, but the most important really is that it allows you to re-roll concealment checks. When someone has partial or total concealment in this game, that's a 20% chance to miss them or a 50% chance to miss them. And again, you will roll that. Doesn't matter how good your swing was or how bad their armor was. If they have partial or total concealment, you will miss that many percent chance of the time. 20% or 50%. Now, if you have blind fight and you roll poorly, you will get a re-roll, what we call basically advantage. If you've played D&D recently, you know what I mean. But basically they roll it twice, the better of the 2 is picked. Now obviously that's misleading. They don't roll twice. What do I mean? If you make the check the first roll, they don't roll a second time. There's no need. If you fail it, they roll the second time. And again, they do not take the better of the 2. They take the second roll at that point. Why? Because even if the second roll is a failure, the first roll was also a failure. So again, it's not like you have a crit failure. So the devs just made it easy on themselves. They roll, you pass, then they don't roll again. You fail, because you have blind fight, you'll roll again, and then they'll take that result, irregardless of whether you pass or fail. Because it doesn't honestly matter. If you fail, you failed before a moment ago. It didn't do you any good. If you pass, yay! Now you can roll to attack like normal, and can still miss, by the way. But this advantage on concealment checks is extremely powerful. And if you doubt that, go into Kingmaker for the game that is currently released and get to those areas where you fight phase spiders. Those little phase spider bastards routinely have either the blur effect, which is the 20% concealment, or some of them even have displacement, which is a 50% concealment check. And I always had a good character, one that had really nice attack bonuses, buffs besides, a really nice magical weapon that I buffed up to make sure it's close to a +5 or was a +5 by that point. And again, I was routinely having trouble hitting these guys. Why? Because of the concealment. That 50% mischance. I was just whiff, whiff, whiff. Oh, I hit him once. Oh, yay me. I had to resort to spells to kill the bastard. I went back through with a different character that had blind fight on the party. That dude was just crushing shit. And it was because of his re-roll. Because the whiff, whiff, whiff wasn't because of their heavy armor. It was because of the 20% or 50% concealment, the mischance. And that screwed me. There's more to it than just this. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but the last sentence here is also of note. You also gain immunity to gaze attacks. There's a lot of gaze monsters, well, not a lot. There's a decent amount of gaze monsters in Kingmaker that will straight up just murder your ass because they looked at you. So having this trivializes those fights. That's not to say there's not an only way to beat those dudes. There's plenty of ways to like summon pets and just blast them from a distance. You know, send in someone that is immune to gaze attacks who does have blind fight, so the whole party doesn't need it. But again, it's one of those where having it really does trivialize those fights. Blinding critical. We've talked about these already because we talked about critical mastery and critical focus, which again is something else we're about to talk about. But I will rehash some of this for a reason. One, just to re-emphasize that you do need critical focus as a prerequisite. Notice also you need a high BAB. This is something that no traditional low-level-ish character is going to have access to. And I don't mean low-level and under 15. I mean, that's a part of it. I mean, if you're not a fighter type, a barbarian, a paladin I think falls in this category, certainly a ranger does, and obviously a fighter, blood ragers too, you're not going to get to a BAB of 15 until the end of your build. And at the end of your build, do you even have the chance to pick up a feat? Probably no. There is exceptions to the rule. There's characters that have feats that they unlock, a rogue being an example, where they get something that is the equivalent of this. They don't call it blinding critical. It's called blinding strike or blinding sneak attack or something like that. But basically it's a blinding attack. It's exactly this, but they don't have to meet the prerequisites. So know what this does, because for those builds, this is amazing. Why? Because a rogue gets sneak attack. How do they get sneak attack? Well, if the target's flat-footed. How would you make them flat-footed? How about if they can't see you attacking them? Like blinding them with a blinding critical. You see the appeal. There's more to it than just that. The amount, or the duration, I should say, that they're blind is important. Notice, I love the fact that even on a successful save, they're at least dazzled for 1 to 4 rounds. Again, something of appeal to me. I hate save or suck spells, and same with feats. So save and something happens still makes me smile a little bit, because again, at least I had an effect. What does Dazzle do? I think Dazzle is the one where it's like a -1 to their attack bonus, -1 to their perception bonus. And you may say that's kind of lame, and certainly it is. Having said that, a -1 to their swing, that is technically me and my party just got a full +1 armor class bump. Just saying. So it's not amazing, but it is useful. And again, I do like the fact that it's there. Also, notice that if you like reapply it, it doesn't double the duration or triple the duration. I want to say that it just reinstalls the timeline. So if it only lasts for a round, it's now back to being another round. So it just keeps refreshing it, so to speak. Notice the last thing where it says special. This is something we can overcome with critical mastery. It's something we talked about in the earlier video. But notice you can only apply 1 critical feat effect on any given critical hit, unless you possess critical mastery, in which case you can promote 2. You have to have 2, but again, you wouldn't have less than 2 if you didn't have critical mastery, because to get critical mastery, you must have 2. So that's blinding critical, tiring critical, you know, all the other ones as well. You know, I want to say there's staggering critical and sickening critical and exhausting critical, and there's a bunch of weird shit. Point is, if you get 2, you have to pick and choose which one is on. This is a toggle. So if you want blinding critical on, just leave that toggle running. Anytime you crit, this check will go through. If you wanted tiring critical and blinding critical, you have to get both, and you'd have to have critical mastery, which is very pricey as far as feat-wise picks, to unlock it. But it will allow you to leave 2 toggles running, not 3. So if you have more than 2, again, you don't get to cheat the system. The first one you turned on will be the first one that gets shut off. So if you do blinding critical, tiring critical, and exhausting critical, or sorry, that's a terrible example. Blinding critical, tiring critical, sickening critical. Let's say you click them in that order. You would actually shut off blinding critical as the first one that was on, because the moment you turn on number 3, number 1 shuts off. Okay. Bull Rush. Again, we talked about this like we did in the other video, because again we had greater Bull Rush. But again, just to rehash, this is nothing more than a shoulder check where you knock a dude back. No damage. You're just pushing the bastard away from you. And again, it's a straight line. So if you line it up right, it's what we call pocket pool or dungeon pool. I mean, you literally just get to check the motherfucker, and he goes flying backwards if you succeed. And the more you succeed, the farther back he goes. So again, strength-based builds, love this. Notice it requires power attack and a strength stat of value. The better your strength, and the power attack doesn't mean shit because it doesn't even have to be on for it to work. But the point is, you need the prerequisite. But the more your strength and the more your combat maneuver bonus, that's the CMB, the more likely you are to pass your check. You're competing against the target's CMD, that's defense. So again, ways for them to get defense. If I just click this thing, you can see me hover over this. It should tell you what CMD is for you, for your teammates, for the bad guys. So notice it's a base attack bonus. So the harding hitting motherfuckers that you're probably going to want to bully and push around, they're going to have a high BAB. And therefore their CMD is going to be high as well. So will yours, but they get to use their strength and their dex modifier and any special size bonuses and miscellaneous modifiers and blah blah blah. So notice like these +2s that you're seeing up here, for example. But again, are you likely to make it work? There's plenty of ways to make it work. Notice the one thing that I didn't really talk about here is notice, where did it go? Dex modifier, very last sentence, a flat-footed creature does not add its dexterity bonus to its CMD. So if you're worried about them being very strong and dexterous at the same time, and just want to take that last little bit of dexterity away from their CMD, catch them flat-footed. What does that mean? It means literally hit them in the first combat round before they have a chance to act. You'll shove the bastard, he'll go flying backwards, and the better your check, again, the farther he goes. Sadly, and this is something the devs could really do to make me happy, but they won't. For Bull Rush, if you check somebody, they go flying backwards and there's a wall in the way, they hit the wall, they stop. They take no damage from that. That seems to be a mistake. I mean, that'd be something that I think that they could have coded in, like minimum. If they stop before they go as far back as they should have gone, they should take like 1d6 of damage. Just something. Just, oh, they got hurt, they stubbed their toe, whatever. But they don't. So that's kind of a bummer. Cleave, we've talked about this one already because we've talked about cleaving finish and improved cleaving finish, which is my favorite. But just again to rehash, Cleave, especially early levels, requires, of course, you have strength and power attack, enough strength to get the feat power attack, no less. So again, I hate when they have prerequisites where one thing that's on the list is the same as another thing on the list needs. So power attack also needs a strength of 13. So at that point, really all you need to say is you need power attack. Because then you look at power attack, oh, okay, I'll grab power attack. Oh, power attack, I need a strength of 13 for that one. And again, it teaches you this shit instead of wasting a bunch of text for no reason. But again, I digress. But what does Cleave do? Especially early levels, this one's powerful. Why? Because you click it. It's a clickable ability. And it's basically, I click it and I'm swinging at somebody if anyone else is within range, which is the only time you want to do this, quite frankly. So if there's at least 2 bad guys within the range of your weapon. Now that can be 5 feet, 10 feet, 6 feet, depending on what kind of reach weapon you have. I swing and hit one guy. If I hit him, it will allow me to swing and hit one more guy, a different opponent, at my full base attack bonus. Now imagine that at level 1. Again, I can get that at level 1. How? I need power attack, I need strength, which I have, and cleave. As a human, for 2 feats, right off the bat, you can get power attack and cleave. And at level 1, I can literally walk up to 2 bad guys, like say these are the 2 bad guys side by side, and this is me. I walk up to this prick, I click cleave, taking my full turn to swing at that son of a bitch, swing, manage to hit him, and it'll let me swing and try to hit that guy too. Doesn't mean I'll succeed. Hell, if I whiff on the first one, it won't let me even swing at that guy. But the point is, I will potentially get 2 hits for the price of 1, and that's, again, powerful. So again, is it good? Sure. Is it great? No. Is it helpful because it sets up getting the improved cleaving finish? Hell yes, you need it to grab great cleave, which you need cleaving finish, which you want, and you have improved cleaving finish after that, which you definitely want, because that's the one where if I kill one guy, I start killing shit in a fucking circle. It gets to be Ginsu Chef Band all over again. Very, very fun. Combat expertise. This is one that is required for a lot of feats. Notice if I click it, and then if you hover over here, the devs have added things that it's a prerequisite for, which I do appreciate that, devs, by the way. Thank you for that. It's weird in that you can't like hover over this and find out, or find out about it down here. That would have been preferred, because now I have to know to hover over this. But once people figure this out, I'm sure people will start doing this a lot. Notice it's needed for Dirty Trick, obviously the bigger version, Disarm, the bigger version, Trip, the biggest version, the bigger version. Notice that these are things we've already talked about, but these are again one of those. Again, I know these are tricks, but these I consider kind of like tricks as well. They fall under that category, but they need combat expertise to teach you, I guess, this kind of trick. Trip is one of the on this list that I actually don't mind. I've never seemed to use Disarm. Same with Dirty Trick. It's not to say they're bad. It's one of those where I can see the visual cue of Trip easier. Yes, I can monitor my combat log. I will clearly see when the Disarm fails. Same with Dirty Trick. If I blind, entangle, or stick in the target, that's important and that's definitely powerful. And again, you'll notice that in the combat log. But if I trip someone, visually, we're all visual creatures here, you will see the bad guy whoop, fall the fuck down if it succeeds. It's obvious. Same with Bull Rush. I will shoulder check the bastard. I'll watch him go flying. So again, I like that one preferentially. But what does combat expertise do by itself besides giving you access to this other shit? You have to have, first you need like an intelligence of 13, not 3. So you have to be reasonably smart. And then you also take when it's a toggle, you take a penalty to your melee attack rolls and your combat maneuver checks while it's on. Notice that does not mean you need to have this on to use these. It's just a prerequisite to unlock them. You don't have to have this toggle running to do Trip, for example. So, shut it off, and here's why. Because you're taking a penalty to your combat maneuver checks. That's a combat maneuver Trip. Same with Disarm, same with Sunder Armor, same with a bunch of other shit. So again, those are a lot of CMBs we're talking about there. So again, having a -1 penalty, that gets worse the higher your level is, you can see the problem. But what does it do for you then? If there's a penalty, well, there's got to be a plus. What's the plus? Here it is. You get a dodge bonus. For every -1 to your swing, you get a +1 to your dodge. It allows you to turtle up, so to speak, tank. Now think about this on, say, someone like my Sword Saint. Someone that already has intelligence. There's no reason for them not to have an intelligence of 13 or greater. I need at least 16 to do my job effectively. That's to cast my level 6 spells. And I certainly want it probably higher than that. But combat expertise is something I can pick up very quick and very easy. Yeah, it's a penalty to my swing. There's ways around that as far as give yourself better buffs to counter it. You know, Bless Spell, Heroism, Greater Heroism. We could do like Cat's Grace, Bull Strength, any number of things that you'll put on a piece of gear that gives you a better swing. Get a magical weapon that will counter the penalty. So again, you're going down, but you're going back up. The downside is, while this could be useful, I would suppose, early levels, because that -1 +1 to your dodge, and then -1 to your swing, +1 to your dodge, scales. The more minuses you have, the more pluses you have. As we get higher levels, you will eventually cap out at as a Sword Saint, for example, a -4 to your swing, +4 to your dodge. That's a lot of extra armor. But again, can you really afford that -4 to your swing? It's hard to say. So the question becomes, what do you do? Well, again, it is a toggle. So bare minimum, we can say, is just shut it off. Shut the toggle off. Yeah, you lose out on 4 armor, but you also have a +4 better chance now of swinging. So again, potato patata. Can you tank effectively without it? Sure. Would it be better with it on? Hell yeah. But are you going to hit anything? Hell no. So again, what's your role? Are you trying to hurt things? You're probably going to be unlikely to do so. Are you trying to tank? It would be better with it on. It's almost like fighting defensively. Actually, fighting defensively is worse. It's a straight up -4 to your swing, and only a +2 to your armor. +3 if you have something like 3 mobility points invested. So, yay, this is clearly better. Could you have both on? I don't see why not. I don't think they shut each other off. It just gets worse from there, though. So while we're getting lots and lots of dodge, you're getting lots and lots of penalty to your swing, and I just can't assume that that's a good idea. Having said that, could I see a use? Sure. You are a caster, are you not? Just because you have a penalty to your melee attacks and combat maneuvers doesn't mean you have a penalty to casting spells. Yeah? Sling out a fireball spell. Have some fucking fun. And again, you get some dodge besides. So on a wizard, or again, even my Scroll Savant, my Magus, I can see the appeal here. But again, Magus lend themselves, Sword Saints too, to wanting to melee and cast spells. So I can penalize one, or I can penalize both, or I can have one be great. Again, on you. But I can see the appeal for a toon that is routinely in the front ranks and would like some extra armor. Combat mobility. This one we talked about in passing for something else because, again, it is required for... Oh, it doesn't have it on here. Devs, bad devs. There's something that combat mobility is needed for. I forget what it is off the top of my brain, but we talked about it in a previous video. But combat mobility is a weird nugget. This is the one where if you are... For those of you who don't understand, when we talk about skills, mobility is used for when you're trying to skirt past bad guys and not provoke attacks of opportunity. Combat mobility, very similar to that. Again, as you're weaving your way in and out of combat to get to this guy back here through his friends who will not like it and will take free pot shots at you. That's what attack of opportunities are. We'll get a +4 to our dodge bonus to our armor class against those attacks of opportunity while we're moving in and out of those areas. Notice again, if we are flat-footed for any reason, or lose our dexterity bonus for any reason, again, like being flat-footed, we would lose this bonus as well, because again, it's a dodge bonus. So, potato, patata. Is this one amazing? I can't stand this one. These are another one of those where it looks good, looks good. You see that +4 dodge, right? Armor! And you click it, and you're like, oh, you didn't read the whole thing. Oh, fuck me. It's not armor all the time. It's only when you're doing stupid shit like running in and out of battle, when you're not likely to do that. If you're playing your cards right and you're doing it... No, I'm not doing it right, sorry, I don't mean to say it that way. When you are paying attention to your combat and realizing that if I go from here to over to this doofus and these two bastards that are already meleeing me, I'll be outside of the range of their weapon, that's what attack of opportunities spark off on. So again, if you stay within the range of their weapons, they were still just going to stand there staring at you. The moment you break free from the range of their melee weapon, they say, hey, get back here, and they swing at you. So that's your attack of opportunity. So that's the problem. But if that's the problem, then I just ignore that guy. Or I slowly work my way over to the son of a bitch. How do you do that? 5-foot stutter step. If you do turn-based combat, any character is capable of doing 5-foot stutter steps in any direction, assuming they can walk in any direction, and it will not provoke an attack of opportunity. If you go more than 5 feet, it will trigger. They will swing. Like, son of a bitch. So again, that's a problem. But again, I can do 5 feet to get around to this side, 5 feet again to get to here, 5 feet to get to that guy. Yeah, it took a couple turns to get there, but these guys did not get attacks of opportunity as I did that. And I was still able to swing at them, which I was probably going to do anyway. So these are less important to me. So stuff that buffs your mobility always seems wasteful to me. Doesn't mean you won't find it useful. Combat reflexes. Now this one I know for a fact is useful for stuff like seize the moment. There you go. Oh, maybe that was the one I was thinking of. Damn it. Sorry. Getting them confused. Combat reflexes. Seize the moment. This is, again, another teamwork feat. But combat reflexes was needed for that. What does this one do? First off, no prerequisite. It is better, if you read the tooltip, if you have a plus to your dexterity. So 12 or higher. Why? Because it adds your dex bonus to how many attacks of opportunity you can make per round. Everyone gets one. Doesn't matter if your dex is 20, 20 million, 3. You still can get one attack of opportunity off. That's just baked into the game. But if you have a dex of +1 for the modifier or better, you can add that modifier now to how many attacks of opportunity per round you can make. So a lot of people are like, ooh, I get this with my dexterity of 20. That's a +5 modifier. That means I can make 6 attacks of opportunity a round. Yes. Does it mean you will? No, because guess what? There's very rarely that many stupid bad guys in the game that will 6 of them surround you and then 6 of them say, peace out, and fucking bolt in the other direction, provoking the attack of opportunity. I'd say 2 or 3 attacks of opportunity per round is probably the highest I've ever seen. Sure, there's exceptions to every rule. For example, if you do like a really good fear effect on a bad guy, like an AoE version, like Dreadful Carnage, or a fear spell, or anything else that will make them panic. Not just shaken, I mean panic. That's a different category of fear. If they panic, they just don't give any fucks about protection or anything that makes sense, and they just and run the fuck away. That's beautiful attack of opportunity potential right there. So again, for someone that's going to do that and that has a decent enough dexterity to capitalize on it, this is okay. It's still one of those that just is just not super impressive. I will say this, though, in its defense, the very last sentence that's there. With this feat, you may also make attacks of opportunity while flat-footed. So in that surprise round, If they're running past you to kill the wizard because they just jumped you guys, they're like, hey, there's a wizard, go kill him, yeah, and they run past you, and you're in the front ranks and you have combat reflexes. Normally, without combat reflexes, you wouldn't be able to attack because you're flat-footed. You're surprised. You're not surprised anymore. Combat reflex, swing, and you'd be surprised at how useful that part is. So again, does it always make my cut? No. Is it of value? Hell yeah. I can see this one being something that I would feel bad not picking on a decent build that has lots of feats like a fighter. Coordinated defense and coordinated maneuvers. Again, the piss yellow. These are teamwork feats. We've talked about them already. Won't bother your time with it now. Cornugon Smash. Part of my favorite Cornugon Smash build. Notice it requires two things: power attack and high persuasion, meaning 6 actual points that you've invested, which means as soon as anyone's getting this is here. With the exception of there's some classes that have access to this, possibly, where they don't have to meet the prerequisites, but that's probably rare. Certainly enough, though, that you would want the high persuasion anyway. Why? Because what this one does is persuasion based. You do what's called an intimidation check. It's part of your persuasion. Persuasion is a skill. That skill is technically broken into multiple components, but all keying off of the flat skill persuasion. There's intimidation, which is what we're seeing here. There's bluff, you're lying, being deceitful. There's diplomacy, I'm kissing your ass. So, and there might even be a fourth one, I just can't remember. But definitely those 3. And they all fall under the umbrella of persuasion skill. This one here does the persuasion check and intimidation check. And the reason they mention that is there is feats, there's skills, there's powers, spells, and gear out there that will buff intimidation only, not persuasion. Intimidation checks. And again, we'll see some of those here later. But that's important. That's why they point that out to you in the tooltip here. Notice this is a free action, which means it just happens. And you can have as many free actions as you want. That's why they're free. So what happens is if power attack is on, notice that's a prerequisite then for having power attack and actually having it on. Anytime I hit somebody with power attack on, I try to intimidate them. So the higher your persuasion, your intimidation check, the better off you are, because it's more likely than not to demoralize them. That is the shaken condition. The shaken condition is a decent penalty to the bad guy. It's like a -2 to their swing and some other shit besides, but it's not bad. But that's not where this ends. This is where this feat ends. The build for what I call the Cornugon Smash build not only has this feat, and of course power attack, it also has this thing called Dazzling Display, weapon focus, which you need to get Dazzling Display, and another feat we'll see down here called Shatter Defenses. And again, we'll talk about it when we get there, but in a nutshell, Shatter Defenses allows you to capitalize on that shaken condition that you just set up with your Cornugon Smash. There's even another upgraded version after that, something called Dreadful Carnage that we will talk about. That is really the complete build right there. If you can get all the way to this bad boy and Cornugon Smash besides, you're intimidating guys on massive scales. Again, the good news is that's extremely helpful for you and your team. The bad news is the devs saw that back in Kingmaker. It was heavily abused, which it should be because it's awesome. And then they said, we're going to make a lot of guys immune to the shaken condition. And that's what they did. It still works. This doesn't work on everybody. Just know that it's going to be problematic. Do I like this one, though? Hell yes. This one routinely makes my strength builds. Because, again, power attack, you need a strength of 13. Notice how this one didn't say you need a strength of 13. So devs were working in the right direction now. But again, for whatever reason, they usually put that shit in there. But you need strength of 13 or higher to unlock power attack. And again, you can't get this routinely until at least level 6, because that's the soonest you can get persuasion of 6. But if you know that, you can build for it. Like a fighter, totally can pick this up at level 6. And in my opinion, should do so if they're a strength-based character. Going on. Here's our Crane Style, Crane Wing, and Crane Riposte. Why am I saying them out of order? Because that's the order you have to pick them up in. Crane Style here. Then Crane Wing requires you to have Crane Style and Dodge and Improved Unarmed Strike and either Monk level 5 or a base attack bonus of 5. So a fighter can get this if you wanted to. Hell, a wizard could get this. It would be weird, but you could, I suppose. Crane Riposte requires even higher Monk level or higher base attack bonus and Crane Style and Crane Wing, so these ones before it. So again, some fun to be had here if you grab all 3. Nutshell version on these ones is it allows you to fight defensively with less of a penalty to your swing and a little bit more armor. This one here, even more armor. The downside is the armor's transient, which means if they get within range of that 4 dodge extra that this is giving you, this is melee attacks now, they literally take that 4 away from you for 1 round. It comes back, assuming the fight continues, of course. It comes back, but anytime they get within that +4 that this thing is giving you, it will strip it away. And the rationale I have for this, I mentioned this before in the previous video, that was a monk video, but just to rehash it here. Think of crane style. You know, you got your fist, you're ready to punch him in the face, and you're using your offhand to smack shit away, right? It's your crane style. You get your balance and all that shit. Crane wing is me deflecting with that one hand. Kind of puts me off kilter, right? That's why I'm losing 4 dodge. It was giving 4 dodge to me, that's this right here, and it's just going to take that away from me for 1 round, because as I re-get my balance, so to speak. Crane Riposte, on the other hand, is what capitalizes even more. So remember, when you fight defensively, you're normally at a -4 penalty to your swing. That sucks. Crane style is a toggle. You leave it on, it will take that -4 down to -2. That's serviceable. I mean, it's not great, I'll grant you that, but I'll take a -2 because it's going to eventually give me the equivalent of, what, like +3 or +4 to my armor. I'll take that as a trade-off every day, all day. But then Crane Riposte comes along, and it takes that -2 penalty that you were just suffering from, and takes it down now to just a -1. And one more step. Crane Riposte, remember when you lose that +4 dodge bonus when they get too close to hitting you and you have to deflect it away? Crane Riposte allows you to counter with a attack of opportunity. It's like, how dare you fucking close enough hit me, you son of a bitch. So free attack. So these are actually very good, obviously better on a monk, but I have done monk dips where I've just unlocked crane style and then picked up crane wing and crane riposte when I can fit it in the build. You'd be surprised at how tanky you will feel this way. And yeah, it sucks to have that -4 penalty, even a -2 penalty to your swing, but when you rapidly get to the point where it's a -1, I'll fucking suck that up. Cast Bless on yourself. Chug a potion. You're fine. And this really makes a frontliner tanky. Even if you're not a monk, or a Scaled Fist monk, which is my preferred one. Why? Because the Scaled Fist monk and the other monks, if you're only doing a dip, you still get to add your wisdom modifier, or in the case of the Scaled Fist monk, your charisma modifier to your armor. Monks proper, ones that are purist, that go monk level 20, ideally, get even more armor. Not only do they get their wisdom bonus, or again, charisma if you're a Scaled Fist monk, for every 4 or 5 levels a monk, they get another armor bonus. I want to say it's every 4. So if you're monk level 4, you get another +1. Monk level 8, you get another +1. So a level 20 monk gets an extra 5 armor, just because they're a monk. And their fists become more powerful. So again, plenty of reasons to want to go monk and go this style. You are a tanky sumbitch. Takes you a while to get there. Again, monk level 1, so pick it up at level 1 if you so choose. Monk level 5, that takes a while. And then finally monk level, what's this one, 7? Yeah, monk level 7. So again, you're not super tanky till right about here. And yeah, you're at a penalty to your swing, -2, eventually until -1. But that's still serviceable. And again, 7 levels in the game, that doesn't take long. By then you've already unlocked Mythic Pass and get to be even more of a monk badass. So again, very cool. I shy away from getting just one. If I'm going to go this route, because it's a big investment, you need dodge, you need improved unarmed strike, you need to have a BAB of 2, the intelligence, everyone's got that. But if I'm going to go that route and fight defensively, that -2 penalty still pisses me off. I'd rather it be -1, so I know me, I'll grab all 3. So I only grab this routinely on my builds if I know I have 3 feats that I can burn, these 3. And again, I probably was going to get dodge already, and the downside in Kingmaker, anyway, was you see that improved unarmed strike requirement? That's something that monks get for free. Awesome. Well, no one else does. It used to be that Sword Saints did if you pick your unarmed strike as your weapon of focus. They gave you weapon focus unarmed strike, which is not the same as improved unarmed strike, and then they gave you improved unarmed strike. Now they don't do that anymore. You still have to pick that. However, there is a background that will allow you to pick unarmed strike for free. That's sweet. Just saying. So there's some fun to be had here. So, and again, why do I bring that up when we're talking about precious feats? It's because... Oops. Give me a second. It's because this stuff here doesn't require you to be an unarmed striker. You do not have to be punching with your fist to benefit from these things. I can totally wield a sword one-handed, of course. You have to have your spare hand free. But I can go crane style, crane wing, and crane riposte and still be a dagger wielding or a rapier wielding or a kukri wielding some bitch. And that's some fun to have. But again, most people would shy away from it because, again, I don't want to burn a feat on dodge and improved unarmed strike. Well, I just showed you a way you didn't have to do both. You need dodge, there's no getting around that, but you probably want to dodge anyway, as we'll see. That's just a +1 to your armor in most cases. So again, this does make the cut in a lot of builds when I really feel like I need to be extra tanky, man. Like on the hardest difficulty settings, and I'm going for like a sword saint where my armor's not quite there yet, and I don't have a lot of spells to buff me with. Getting some of this shit early, you'd be surprised how your armor goes from like a 10 to a 12 to a 14 to a 20 way quick. And then you start feeling extra tanky. So again, these are solid upgrades. Having said that, critical focus, we've mentioned this in the past. Notice it's a high BAB. This is only impressive in that it looks like, ooh, look at this shiny +40 your swing. Only for the confirmation check. So for those of you that don't know, when you get a critical hit, look at all this big ass text. This is why it's hard to do this shit. So, get back up here. When you could have crit, what happens is, let's take the nat 20, which is almost, or not almost, always a chance to crit. You roll a nat 20, you don't crit, you could. You re-roll it, and on the second roll, doesn't matter what you get, on the second roll, could you have hit the guy with the second roll? Yes, then you crit. That's all it is. That's called confirming the crit, okay? So in this instance, what critical focus does is on that second roll only, so when you try to crit, they give you a +4 on the second follow-up roll. So it's more likely that you will crit when a crit could occur. So certainly you see the appeal. Is it amazing? Again, no. It also requires a lot. You have, well, not a lot, a high level. So you need a BAB of 9. So this is the earliest most people are getting it. And again, for a fighter that's got extra feats, hey, I'd fucking do that. But there's going to be plenty of other things, whether we're talking feats or spells or gear, where in many cases you will see things like you auto-confirm crits. Just like it sounds, when you could crit, you crit. They don't roll a second time. They just give you another 20, basically, is the way the mechanics of the game works. So you'll see you could have crit, you crit. And it's usually high level when it's like a feat. A sword saint has that as a thing. Notice this one, weapon mastery for a fighter. It is in here. Any attacks made with the weapon automatically confirm all critical threats. And the multiplier gets even better. But again, perfect example. Sword saints get this as well, weapon mastery. Again, at the end of their build. But again, then did you really need this? Well, yeah. Why? Because this actually unlocked other shit. Look at all these fucking cool critical things that I can do, Brother Mutant. Don't you want me to crit and blind someone? Don't you want me to crit and sicken someone? Don't you want things from me, Brother Mutant? Yes, I do. I want you to be a badass. So this is an example of something that it sucks to have to take it because you know you're never going to need it again. But until that time, it unlocks a whirly gig of fun. So again, I would suggest if you're going this route, get yourself a good critting weapon, which means something with the highest crit range. That's an 18, 19, and 20. That's a kukri, a rapier. There's other examples, but those are the two off the top of my brain. I think scimitar is even in that category. That's a strength-based one. So again, solid choices. And they're always the ones that magi love, because magi love to crit through their weapons because they can cast spells into their weapon, and when the weapon crits, the spell crits. So look for crit fishing builds that way, would be my advice to you. But if you're going that route, like I said, commit. Find a good crit weapon. Finally unlock this bastard. And then at least pick one of these things when they come online. Some of these have requirements, or high requirements, like blinding critical. You have to have like a BAB of 15, which most people won't get. Because Magus, this is where you get 15. They don't get this feat here. So they're never going to be able to pick up some of these things. They're very hard to get. But you could probably pick up tiring critical, maybe sickening or staggering critical. So there is still some fun to have here. Just know which ones you have access to. The difference, again, being on this one, well, obviously for fighters, 15 is like right here. So again, I could get blinding critical here and not bat an eye. But for a sword saint, they have a special ability, much like all magus, where they have fighter feats given to them at a certain level. They for all other magi, when they get to level 10, they take their magus level, divide it by 2, and that's how many quote-unquote fighter levels they have. So if you see a prerequisite where it says you have to be fighter level 4, That's what that means. For Sword Saints, they get that too. However, they get theirs at level 7, and instead of it being divided by 2, they take their Sword Saint levels and subtract 3. So at level 7, they're a fighter level 4, technically speaking. And again, you may say, why does this have anything to do with anything? I'm getting there. It's not because of that feat that I'm talking about it. They also, and this is something unique to the Sword Saint compared to the other Magi, they have an ability higher level, I forget what level it unlocks, but they have an ability that if you read the tooltip, it says they use their Sword Saint level. So if they're level 15, they use that as their BAB. It is not an increase to their base attack bonus. Be real clear. It's just they're pretending that their BAB is this high, which means a Sword Saint could, for example, get critical focus early, like 9 or whatever, and then they could unlock blinding critical at 15. Even though their BAB is not 15, their BAB won't be 15 till way the fuck down here. So, how do they do that? Again, they have a feat or an ability or whatever you want to call these little pips down here that says specifically they can use their Sword Saint levels for purposes of meeting the prerequisites of feats for BAB. So again, if there's a BAB requirement like this one has a BAB of 9, a Sword Saint wouldn't be BAB of 9 here. Their level 9 is, let's see, was it like here? So it's a ways away. So again, when they unlock that, if it's before 12, they could probably pick up critical focus earlier than everybody else. Every other normal Magus. Magus could get to a BAB of 9. That's a thing. Again, any Magus could get it at 12, which means they'd probably pick it up here at 13. But again, there's only so many of these that they'd be able to pick up at the tail end of their build. But again, a Sword Saint doesn't have that problem. So they can grab any of those little bastards that they want. Hell, they can even get critical mastery if they really push it. It's fiddly, I believe. I think you have to be level 19 to pick up the last one, which is critical mastery, because it has a BAB requirement of like 19, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a quick gander. We looked at it earlier today. Critical mastery. Oh, fighter level 14. Oh, and again, that's something that the other Magus will not be able to do, because remember, if they're Magus level 20, divide that by 2, the highest fighter level they could get naturally as a purest build would be fighter level 10. So they would never be able to grab critical mastery. But what about a Sword Saint? Remember, they don't divide by 2. They take their level and subtract 3. So what would be 14 fighter plus 3? At level 17, I can get critical mastery as a Sword Saint. You see the fun you can have? So again, I know we're deviating a little bit, but it's because I get excited about the stuff that I like. But critical focus is of value. It just really sucks that it's routinely given to those builds where eventually you'll get to the point where you auto-confirm crits. So it's... But until that time, man, it really does make things really nice. And the crits start flowing. I will say, when you have this and you have a good crit weapon, the crits start flowing a lot better. Because remember, a nat 20 always hits. It doesn't always crit. And why? Because let's do some math here. Let's say you have a 15 armor class. That's pretty low. And I'm trying to hit you, and I roll a nat 20. Certainly that's better than 15. I hit. What if on the second roll, the confirming the crit roll, I roll an 11? I don't crit because it wasn't 15 or better. See that? But now I have critical focus. 11 plus 4 on the confirmation roll now brings that 15 back, and now I crit you. See that? That's what this is doing. It's giving you an extra 4 on that second roll, bringing it back up, so it's even easier to get that one. And that may not sound like that big of a deal because 15 is not that hard to get. But remember, 15 is an arbitrary number I picked out of the air. What if their armor was 20? You roll a nat 20. Well, of course you hit 20 because it's a 20. But again, it doesn't matter if they had an armor of 40 and you roll a nat 20. You hit. That's how that works. What's the chances you're going to roll high enough on the next roll to hit that 40 that was the actual target? Again, another nat 20 will get you there, but that's only 5% of the time. If that plus 4 can help get you there a little easier, that's what this is doing. It's kind of easing your burden into critting that or following up for that crit confirmation. Crushing Blow. Again, this is another one of those monk-type feats. So it's an unarmed strike deal. Notice how improved unarmed strike is needed. Stunning Fist is needed. Other feats that monks get for free, but again, you can pick up yourself. Notice what this one does. You make a Stunning Fist attempt at a full round action. If successful, instead of stunning the target, we're actually reducing their armor equal to your Wisdom modifier. I assume, I don't know this, it says Wisdom, there is a monk subclass called Scale Fist Monk that instead of Wisdom they use Charisma. I would assume it is applicable here where it would switch it to Charisma. Just be clear. If not, that's a bug report. That would be something that I'd bitch about because I didn't go Scale Fist Monk so I could suck. So report that shit if you notice that. But I've never tested it. I don't care to. But that would probably make sense. And again, it just means that they need to change the tooltip. But again, for 1 minute, they've lowered their armor class by however much wisdom you had. Again, as a monk, you probably have a lot of wisdom. So -5, -7, what did you have for a bonus? So again, you can see how you could screw the armor class for a target for all your friends to beat on by a lot with nothing more than Crushing Blow. Notice how this does use, however, a Stunning Fist attempt. You have so many uses of that in a day, I believe. So you literally are burning up those Stunning Fists to make this work. So what? It's still worth it. But again, it's one of those where I don't know if it's worth it to just lower their armor, or is it worth it just to stun them. I'm assuming the stunning has probably a saving throw associated with it. So when you get those jackasses that are ignoring your stunning fit, or maybe they're just immune to stun, are they immune to minus armor? Probably no. So again, fucking Crushing Blow their ass. You see how this could be of value. And again, not much of an investment to get it. As a monk, you got both those things for free. I think at level 1 or level 2. Poof. Problem solved. Get Crushing Blow at level 2 or 3. Awesome. And again, the more your wisdom goes up, the more you're penalizing that bad guy. And again, for a minute. So pretty nice way of softening up a target for you and your team. Dazzling Display. This again is another one that builds into that Cornugon Smash build. You need weapon focus of any weapon. Melee weapon, I believe. But any weapon that you have weapon focus in, as long as you're wielding it, you can click this icon in your abilities tray, once you have it, of course. And it will allow you to raise that weapon in the air, and you will fart out a big-ass cloud. That cloud will basically try to intimidate, using your persuasion score, everybody that's an ally, or an enemy, foe, okay? So everybody within that 30-foot radius or diameter, or whatever the hell it is, for you, you're going to try to scare in a fucking circle. And if you do so, it doesn't matter if it's one guy that fails it or all of them that fail it. I mean, it helps if it's more than one. But whoever fails it, you will see an aura on the guy that kind of like, it looks like a little stink or dust cloud on him. Kind of like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. You look at those guys, and if you see that effect on them, you know that guy's shaken. That is what Cornugon Smash also sets up, but individual, one target at a time. This one is an AoE version. But notice how this took your full round action to do it, which means I don't get to attack you. All I'm going to do is raise my weapon and kind of scream at you and try to scare you guys. And if it works, again, it did penalize everyone. So this is a massive debuff. Don't kid yourself. And it's something you can get reasonably early. Again, that's pretty cool. Is it amazing? It depends on how much you invested in intimidation or persuasion, I should say. So early levels, not so much. When you start getting into level 3, 5, 8, 9, 10, and on up, it gets really powerful. Again, the downside is this is not a spell. The check to overcome the bad guys is, I don't want to say random. It is determined, I want to say, on how strong the will is of the bad guy. I don't actually know how that works. I will be honest with you. But I do know that the DC check is variable, which means if I'm fighting barbarians here, the DC check can be high. If I'm fighting pussy-ass wizards over there, it could be the lowest fucking DC check ever, and I'll pass it every time, and they're just terrifying, quaking in their little booties. So again, doesn't necessarily mean it will work on everybody, and there's plenty of people in the game, demons being an example, that are immune to the shaken condition, and that's what this is going to do. So it may work. You may succeed, and then you'll see immune to shaken. Son of a bitch. Again, devs knew what they were doing because people knew what they were doing back in Kingmaker, and their devs are like, how can we still make this challenging? They took away a lot of our tools. Doesn't mean the tools won't work in a lot of the game, and I've already used it in the game, and it does work. So it's not that it's garbage now. It's just not the insta-win button that you're used to. Because Cornugon Smash, the Dreadful Carnage, Shattered Defenses, and Dazzling Display were just broken. So they kind of took that shit away from us a little. But still, a solid choice. Deflect Arrows. Amazing. Notice again, improved on Arcane Strike. So again, typical monk thing. Doesn't have to be. Remember, we talked about a background that could give you that for free. And if this is all it takes, hey man, that's not bad. You remember, you got to have nothing in your offhand. So your main hand can have your weapon or a fist to punch with, but your offhand is open palm kind of shit. Why? Because you're using it to bat away the arrow. But notice how this one works. Any missile attack, ranged weapon attack, no matter if it's magic, Doesn't matter if it's from a long bow, short bow, crossbow, javelin toss, throwing axe, anything that is a ranged weapon, not a spell. You literally, if you see it, which means you are aware of it, not flat-footed is another way of saying that, then you literally just bat it away. Period. Doesn't matter how good or how bad your arm was. You're just like, nope. You nope out of the situation. First arrow every round. Or first ranged weapon every round. Just boom. It's like you just, clapping your hands together and catching the fucking knife before it hits your face kind of shit. And you're like, fuck you, bitch. Nah, I'm done. Going over there and going to stab you now. So again, Deflect Arrows, solid. Again, should make more of my builds because of the usefulness of it. Should make more of the builds, doesn't. And again, the reason is because, again, that improved Unarmed Strike. But again, now that I know that there's a background where I can just give that to myself for free, hey man, I could probably put that back on the chopping block, and that should be something that should make the cut every time. Especially early levels. When you start fighting in those big castle battles in this game, you guys have seen them, right? Get those big castle battles, it's routine that some dude's going to try to shoot you because you're the team leader. They know it. Shoot you right in the face. Deflect arrow. No, sorry. I saw that. I wasn't flat-footed, and fuck you for trying to hit me, and I will remember you on the next round, you son of a bitch, because I'm going to cast a spell right on your ass. So Deflect arrow, solid. Really, really useful. And again, it's a sad thing on this one, just as a final note. It's not that it's not useful from start to finish. It is. Having said that, unless you really are paying attention to your combat log, you never really see it working. Because you're like, especially if you're doing like real time with pause, the arrows are flying, 3 come and hit you, 1 miss always, and then 2 pop will probably hit you unless you got some good armor. And again, you're like, fucking this is garbage. No, if you were following combat log, the first one that missed you because of this. You deflect arrows. There's nothing that I don't think that pops over your head that says deflect arrows. It's in the combat log. So again, it's doing its job. You just don't really see it. It's kind of like behind the scenes, so to speak. But you know it's there, and you know it's working, and it's working as intended. Just be clear that you can't be flat-footed. You got to have your spare hand, your second hand, whatever, your offhand, free. And then the downside of this one, I should point this out too, for Magi, especially like Sword Saints, which would love to take something like this. When you have Spell Combat and Spell Strike, those are toggles. Active, this is something that Magi typically use. It's implied that you're using your spare hand. Whether you're casting or not, your hand is at the ready. So you don't get to use things like Deflect Arrow or Crane Wing, Crane Style, Crane Riposte, because the game assumes that you're going to cast. So it says, oh, no, your hand is busy. So be aware of that shit. So when you say, oh, it's broken, bug report, no, shut off all your toggles. Shut off Spell Strike and Spell Combat. Try it again. See if you're deflecting that arrow. Again, make sure you're not flat-footed. That's another biggie. But you will see, oh, it works. Oh, son of a bitch, why does it work? It's because you shut off those toggles. The reason I know this is because if you're trying to wield a one-handed weapon like a longsword with 2 hands, which a Sword Saint could do, you have to shut off Spell Strike and Spell Combat. Literally leaving those toggles on. Even if I don't cast a spell, it assumes you want to. So you hold your longsword with one hand and you got your other hand free, but just preparing to do something like cast a spell. Even if you don't. You shut off both toggles, you'll choke up on that longsword and you'll do more damage. Because you're wielding with 2 hands, not 1. That's how I know that. Okay? So again, hopefully you've learned something from that. And again, this is another one of those where you keep an eye out for the tooltips where it says, with your one hand free, aw shit. Some modders, by the way, and hopefully they'll do the same here, some modders have added things to Kingmaker where one hand free literally means free. It means you don't have any kind of shield. Well, they added it where bucklers, as a mod in Kingmaker, don't count as taking up your hand slot. And I agree on that, because bucklers are supposed to be something that you strap to your wrist. It's almost like a bracer that has a big fucking shield on it. You're not even using your hand, you're using your wrist. And that's what a buckler was traditionally used for. If I hope I'm saying that correctly. So your hand is still free, and that was more valuable in that mods for obvious reasons, but if not clear, for wizards or other casters like Magi, like I like to use, arcane casters that have arcane spell failure, a buckler would have fucked you up because you're holding something in your hand that gives you arcane spell failure. But the buckler that took that away thanks to that mod. So those mods are awesome. Hopefully they'll do the same for this game. But again, I don't know that, and I can't guarantee it. I can almost guarantee it. But I'm not the one that made the mod, and I don't know that they'll give enough of a shit about this game to do it. Probably they will. Or if they won't, Whoever did it may have moved on to another game. I hate you for doing it, but it's a thing. Someone else probably has their mod, and all the tech tools and tips that they did to make their mod in Kingmaker will probably get permission and upload it to this game. Just so you know. Dirty Trick, we talked about this already. Again, gives you 3 options. Notice how you need a high intelligence. It says 3, and then it also says 13. But you need that for combat expertise. Probably even for Kinetic Warrior. I don't know. I don't care. I never play a Kineticist. But notice what this one does for you. Again, you get 3 choices for Dirty Tricks. You get all 3, but you can only apply 1 at any given time. You get to choose, am I trying to blind someone, entangle, or sicken them? So that's on you. And again, I'm not a fan of these that much. It's not that they're bad. I'd rather swing and hit you heavy with my weapon all the time. But there's some fun that you can have with some of these guys. Same with Disarm. Again, it's another one we talked about before. Again, I'm not a fan. It's not that it's bad or doesn't work. It's just I don't care enough to try to disarm a guy. I usually just go there and stab him multiple times with me and my whole party. There's times where you could see the appeal when they're hitting you fucking hard. If you can make them lose their weapon for multiple rounds, yeah. But it's unlikely it's going to be multiple rounds. And it's unlikely to work, let's just say it. Because if it's a heavy hitting son of a bitch, his combat maneuver defense is fucking through the roof. So you really got to bring your A game if you're going to try to disarm that bastard. It's like saying, I could probably disarm my brother if he tries to hit me with that roll of toilet paper in his hand. But what if it was like, I was going to say Keanu Reeves, but that's not, that doesn't track. Who's that martial artist that's awesome? Fuck, Steven Seagal. There we go. Jeez, my brain's not working today. If it was like Steven Seagal, I'm less confident that I'm disarming him. Just saying, you know what I mean? So, yeah, if it's a putz, you probably got a good shot at knocking that crossbow out of his hand, or that dagger or quarterstaff, or whatever. If it's a fighter that knows what they're fucking doing, yeah, you're probably not going to be as successful as you think. So less impactful for me. Dodge, again, awesome. And notice some things on this one. Look at all the shit that it actually is tied to. You need it for combat mobility. You need it for crane style, crane wing, and crane riposte, which is misleading because you need it for the first one, so it's obvious that you need it for the follow-ups. But you need it for dodge mythic. That's just another +1 to your armor, really, and that's it. Fucking wasteful. And again, we'll talk about those in another video. But again, Kineticist bonus feat air, I have no idea what this is because I never played Kineticist. But again, lots of shit that it fucking ties into, just saying. So dodge is of value. And again, +1 to your armor. Not all 3 categories of armor. Remember, be clear on this. You lose dodge when you're flat-footed. You lose dex bonuses when you're flat-footed. So again, it works for your full armor and your touch armor. That's it. Still solid. Still something that should make the cut every time. And does require dexterity 13. Yeah, 13 or higher. There's exceptions to the rule. Again, for a monk feat, dodge is one of the feats that they can pick up, and they do not need to meet the prerequisites for those feats. So when you see feats down here, the monk can grab things like crane style, crane wing, and crane riposte, which again requires high dexterity or dodge and everything else. I can get crane style at level 1 and not have dodge, but I have to be a monk to do it, and I have to take it with their very precious monk feats down here. But you can do that. And again, the reason you might want to do that is because you know that you're going to make a strength-based monk who has no dexterity and you're never getting dodge. So just get yourself crane style with a monk feat. Get crane wing with another monk feat. Get crane riposte with another monk feat. And use these feats up here to get your dragon style, dragon roar, and dragon ferocity. Those are amazing. And strength-based. And you'll beat the shit out of stuff. When you need to turtle up, you just switch over to crane style. Oh, look at me. I'm dual switching. Oh, I'm a bad. I don't know why I'm gesturing. You can't see that shit. The point is, it's fucking cool. So again, there's some fun to be had here with these things, is my point. Double slice, we talked about this, but again, just in passing, what does this one do? Notice how when you 2-weapon wield, the strength bonus that you apply to your main weapon, let's say you have a +3, because you have a 16 strength, you should apply that to your offhand weapon too, right? No, you get half as strong. If you have double slice, now you get the full modifier back. So +3 and +3 for your damage. That's better. It's not great, but it's better. But notice this tooltip is misleading. Because you're usually a dex-based build, because again, you're 2-weapon fighting, and why wouldn't you be? It's almost a requirement. In most cases, it is. Fighters and rangers being exceptions to the rule. You would probably be weapon finessing, because again, high dex. You would also probably be doing things like slashing grace or fencing grace, because that adds your dex modifier to the damage instead of your strength, because dex is probably higher. Again, same problem occurs. If you're using your dex to add damage, for your offhand weapon, you're only getting half of that dex modifier. If you get double slice, on the other hand, you get it all back. So if you're ever going to 2-weapon wield, double slice is money. That's the only thing I can tell you here. You won't ever notice it unless you're 2-weapon fighting and you have a high dex or high strength. And again, high dex only if you're using like an agile weapon, slashing grace, fencing grace, or in my case, I posted the build just recently, that was a 2-weapon wielder. If you get this feat from the mythic path called Weapon Finesse Mythic, it allows you to add your dex modifier, again, to your weapons, any weapon that's weapon finessable. That means you don't have to pick the weapon. I don't have to be kukri or dagger. I can do gagger and kukri, and because I have that mythic feat, my dex modifier is added to both of them for damage. That's fucking sweet. But again, the offhand weapon will only get half. I've tested it. Get double slice, it goes right back to full again. Again, people will hem and haw over this because, well, my dex is only +3, +4, +5. Do I really care about getting 1 or 2 points back? Yes. And here's why. Because were you going to stop there? Well, I can't take it higher than that. I'm investing in wisdom and intelligence and everything else and whatever. Yeah, but aren't you going to get some magical gear that buffs your dexterity? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So when that dex starts off at a +3, which is some lame sauce, I'll admit, it's routinely what I have for my main character. If I get it to a solid +7 or 8, that's worth. Because again, if it gets cut in half, 8 drops to 4. That's okay, but certainly you would rather do 8 damage per hit instead of 4 damage per hit, wouldn't you? That's a big oomph, man, and I like getting that oomph back. So again, double slice, if you're 2-weapon fighting, and I mean serious 2-weapon fighting, not just, I'm going to pick 2-weapon fighting once, and I'm not going to improve 2-weapon fighting or greater 2-weapon fighting, then don't bother. But if you're going to get all 3 of those bad boys, you should do your best to make sure double slice gets into the build. Because it really is. For each of those offhand hits, that's 3 of them, that's a big fuck you to the bad guy. You know, it's just extra damage that you're wasting. You're losing out on by not having this. Dragon Style, again, talked about this before, like we did with Crane Style, but in passing, because it wasn't in any of the feat videos. This one's decent. It's a strength-based build. Notice this one requires a mobility as well. So the Crane Style, it needs a mobility of 3. But this one, Dragon Style, Dragon Ferocity, and Dragon Roar, there's 3 of them. You need to continually increase your mobility. 3 points is good enough to unlock it, and then you need 5, and then you need like 8, I think, for the other 2. So again, it's scales. So you can't just stop at 3 like most people would. You need to keep pushing it. But this one's nice, because on a strength-based monk build, you can really do some bone-crunching damage. You know, get that strength modifier up to like a +10. It would normally be +10 to your swing and a +10 to your damage, because you're punching, you're hitting with that strength, right? Right. Well, this one, only this feat, when it toggles on, not only do you get some saving throw bonuses to some shit that you appreciate, that very first punch in your chain, you're punching 2, 3, 4, 5 times, depending on what kind of monk you are, or whatever kind of meleeer I should say you are, because it doesn't have to be a monk. The very first punch gets 1.5 times the strength bonus, not 1 times. So not +10, we're getting +15, baby, or more, again, depending on how high your strength is. You can see the appeal. Then Dragon Ferocity, the next one, which I think is up here. Yeah. It actually goes even more. Your first hit now, instead of getting 1.5 times, it gets double. So that +10 strength modifier that we just talked about, instead of going to 15 damage, you're getting 20 damage, baby. Only on that first punch. But every subsequent punch in that same round now is 15 because it gets 1.5 times your strength modifier. And again, awesome. And then keep reading. You get the critical hit, or a stunning fist. Remember, critical hits only work on punches on a nat 20. And again, only if you confirm the crit, of course. But notice how you can shake in the target for a number of rounds. 1d4 plus your strength bonus. So again, when you have really good strength, you can scare a dude. This is another example of how you can do, quote unquote, the Cornugon Smash build without using Cornugon Smash. Use Dragon Style, like this, and Dragon Ferocity, which is something you can do. Crit that motherfucker, which is rare, I will grant you that. But when you do, you shaking that son of a bitch, period. Doesn't say there's a check. Just says you shaking them. And then, if you have Shattered Defenses, every attack after that, because he's shaken, is flat-footed. You can see you just beating the bejesus out of him. So you can see how you can have some fun. Again, there's a million ways to set up shaken condition. It doesn't have to be Cornugon Smash, Dazzling Display, or Dreadful Carnage. Just pointing out that there's options to you. So that's Dragon Style, Dragon Ferocity. Dragon Roar is literally like it sounds. You literally scream at somebody, and instead of doing magical damage, you actually do physical bludgeoning damage by screaming at them very loud. It's kind of funny. It's equal to your punching damage, though. Better, obviously, for a monk because their punching damage scales as they go up to monk level 20. If you're just a normal schmuck that has it, it's a wasteful one. I would not pick up Dragon Roar, probably, for anyone else. But notice how this one, again, improved unarmed strike, mobility, high-ish strength. Dragon Ferocity is even worse, just to point it out to you. Mobility now 5. Strength still the same. Dragon style has to be picked. Notice how you need Stunning Fist because, again, it keys off of it, or you can use Stunning Fist again with this feat to shaking an opponent. So again, another way for you to shaken them that doesn't rely on a crit, but a Stunning Fist attempt. And you get multiple Stunning Fists as you level up a monk, by the way. So some fun to be had. What else? Here's Dreadful Carnage. This is the last one in a Cornugon Smash build. Doesn't have to be picked, but it's a solid choice. What this one does, though, and it doesn't require Cornugon Smash, by the way. You need Dazzling Display, you need Power Attack, and you would need, because of Dazzling Display, you would need Weapon Focus, it's implied, and a high enough BAB. And if you had Shattered Defenses, which again does not require Cornugon Smash either, anytime you kill somebody, and it doesn't matter how you kill them, you intimidate all his friends in a fucking circle centered on you. So you just boom, intimidation. So if I spam like a fucking like insta-kill spell on somebody, and he dies at the start of the round because of me, I terrify all his friends. Now they're all shaken and scared of me. I just set up Shattered Defenses. So this one's amazing by itself. And there has been builds that I have done where I did not take Cornugon Smash just because I'm like, fuck it, I'll just use Dreadful Carnage. It takes a while to unlock because BAB of 11, that shit takes some time to unlock, baby. Even a fighter don't get it till here. And on some of my better builds, this is where I'm normally getting it. So again, that's a long road to hoe. But that's why people usually take Cornugon Smash, because you can get it earlier. It only works single target, but until that time where you can intimidate mass crowds of dudes, single target will still serve its purpose. Notice again, heavy requirements, lots of stuff. Again, this is for people that know what they're doing, want to do it well, and know how to buff their persuasion and their strength and their chances to hit and have power attack on all the time. The Cornugon Smash Air Defenses Dreadful Carnage build is usually amazing. I'll just say it that way. Endurance. Most people hate this one. I'm actually on the fence on it, but I'm more leaning towards that I like it more than I hate it. Let me tell you why. First, let's give you the nuts and bolts. +2 to your athletic check. You're a strength-based character, probably. So, again, a +2 to something you already had skill in. Cool, I'll take it. +4 on your fortitude saves against fatigue and exhaustion. I hate being fatigued and exhausted. So if there's any kind of check on those, I love having that bonus. But then keep reading. And this is the real reason I actually don't mind this one. When you camp, for those of you who don't know, you take off all your armor. You get your ass butt naked, not counting robes and shirts and shit like bracers and shit like that. But again, light, medium, heavy armor, you take that shit off, I think. I say that because I think it might be that you get to keep your light armor on. Like leather, padded armor, it's just like some extra clothes. So people will sleep in that and not be a problem. Why? Because if you sleep with that shit on, you become fatigued. So, notice how when you have endurance, this feat, you can wear light or medium armor and you don't become fatigued. What does that mean? It means I can nap in like breastplate, chain mail, scale mail, hide armor, and it's not a problem. Why does that matter? Because it's implied, I believe, you don't have to take off your armor when you take a nap, which I hope so, because I don't think you had to in Kingmaker. But it's implied that if you don't have this feat and you have medium armor on, you're taking it off when you're taking a nappy nap bye-bye time. What happens when you get jumped in the middle of the night? Oh, fuck, you wake up and attack them? Sure. But you're butt-ass naked. Well, you got robes on, whatever. But you ain't got your armor. Oh, shit, what do we do? What do we do? Help Jeebus. No, I got endurance. I got my medium armor. I'm wearing it because I'm napping in that shit. I'm prepared, sunshine. So, again, you can see how I like this one. And, again, people say it's not that big a deal. That bullshit. When you get jumped and you're like, why is my armor shit? Yeah, there it is. So, again, just be aware what it does. And I believe, like I said, that when you nap, when you take your rest, camp, if you're wearing light armor, I think they let you wear that and sleep in it and you're fine. If you're wearing medium or heavy armor, they assume you take it off. So when you get jumped in the middle of the night, you are not wearing plate mail or breastplate or chainmail. So that sucks. So again, just be aware. You are a sitting duck. So I kind of like this one. Again, is it a must-have? No. Do I like it? Fucking for a fighter, I got all kinds of feats, man. Yeah, I'll fucking take that shit. Especially if I'm a dex-based fighter, because I'll probably be wearing light and or medium, well, not and, light or medium armor, at any given time because it allows me to use my dexterity. So yeah, I'll take that shit. And then throw in the fact that I'm less likely to be fatigued and exhausted, and I get a nice little athletics bonus besides. Fuck yeah, I'll take all that shit. So that's a solid upgrade for a fighter type. Ranger also. Exhausting critical. This is one of those criticals that we talked about. Notice how this one not only has a high BAB requirement and critical focus like the others will do. Notice this one also has another critical focus, the tiring critical, the lower version. This is why I say if you're going to get two, you can't grab exhausting critical and tiring critical. Those aren't two that you can turn on at the same time. Because again, exhausted is better, the upgraded version of the tiring critical. So it assumes you try to exhaust them, not tire them. So know that this is a replacement for the tiring critical that it's saying that you need. See that? So just know that. This is good, and don't get me wrong. And again, exhausting critical. Remember, that's a -6 to strength, -6 to dex. That's a big fuck you to the bad guy, man. I'm just saying. And again, tired and exhausted, they cannot rage, they cannot charge. There's a lot of shit they can't do when they are fatigued, which is the minimum version of this, which is what tiring critical does. So again, if they're exhausted, you got to believe it's even worse. So this is a nice fuck you to the bad guys. Downside is, again, much like everything else that we use to exploit this game, the devs figured that shit out. And they said, well, he's immune to fatigue effects. Son of a bitch. And it's just trying to bone me at every opportunity, devs. What the hell? Anyway, exotic weapon proficiency. We mentioned this already. You have to pick it multiple times if you want to have multiple weapons from this category. More likely than not, you're just going to pick one and run with it. Good news is, like I said, for my Sword Saint, you can get proficiency in any weapon, including an exotic weapon at level 1 Sword Saint. You just pick a weapon, like say I want to be Bastard Sword guy, okay. They give you weapon proficiency in it free. They give you weapon focus in it free. Poof, it just shows up at level 1. That's pretty cool. So I'd kind of dig dipping into the exotics if I'm a Sword Saint. Don't have to. A good rapier and scimitar will do you well, kukris too. And those are all in the martial weapon proficiency. Again, free, you'll just get them. But, if you pick it, obviously. But if you want to be, not Donatello, what the fuck was his name? Michelangelo, Ninja Turtle bastard, go ahead and pick nunchakus, man. And be your Sword Saint nunchaku guy. Or, again, Gnome Hooked Hammer if you're doing that thing. Elven Curve Blade, it can be weapon finesse, even though it's a two-handed weapon. Don't ask me how that fucking makes any sense, but it can, apparently, and that's cool. And I don't know, I'd have fun with that shit, but not on a Sword Saint. Why? Because if you're wielding it two hands, which you'd have to, you can't cast spells and wield it properly. So know that. But there is some fun to have here. Dueling swords, bastard swords can all be one-handed or two-handed. The monk weapons, I shy away from them. So the kamas, the nunchakus, the sais, those are shit. There's some good ones in Kingmaker, though. There's a really good sai that allows you not to get only speed, like a extra attack around. It's called Greater Speed, which means 2 extra attacks around. So that sai, oh, Jesus, a sai saint, which I made, oh man, he was fun. Two-bladed sword, again, orc double axe, and all those guys, the hooked hammer, those are two-handed weapons that have a swing and a backswing. So you get 2 attacks for the price of 1, but they're weird. So again, just a warning out against that. And again, just like everything else in this game, if you don't know that you're going to find one of these weapons, it really sucks to pick it. Like, I always wanted to have a bastard sword be Conan the Barbarian, and then you never find a bastard sword for like the first 2 chapters or some shit. You're like, motherfucker! It sucks. I get you, bro. Great Cleave, we talked about Cleave and Cleaving Finish and improved Cleaving Finish previously, but just as a nice recap, this one again, all it does is it takes Cleave, your clickable ability, and it replaces it with Great Cleave. When you cleave now, you click this icon and swing at a bad guy again. It doesn't stop after the first guy you hit. So you cleave, then I could hit this guy. So if I hit him, then I get a free hit against this guy. If I hit him, then I get a free hit against this guy. And you keep doing it in a circle until you hit every guy or you miss. That's why Great Cleave is good. Real good. So good that getting Cleave and Great Cleave is usually enough for me. But if I'm going to go that heavy into it, getting 2 more feats of Cleaving Finish and improved Cleaving Finish just is like the icing on the top. But you could honestly stop at Cleave and Great Cleave and be pretty happy. Greater Blind Fight. It's going to skip down first to Improved Blind Fight because it's the one you get before it. So we can kind of talk about it in order. Improved Blind Fight, you ignore, for melee attacks, you ignore the 20% mischance. It just doesn't exist anymore. For total consume with a 50% mischance, like they're invisible or have displacement, you still get your reroll from Blind Fight. That's still a thing. Notice how it also has a perception requirement of 10, which means 10 points invested, which means no one's getting this until they get rank 10. That's how good this one is. And that's good. It really is quite good. Notice There's more to it than this. Just like for Blind Fight that I didn't tell you about, you are aware of invisible or hidden attackers. The difference for this one versus Blind Fight is, for Blind Fight, the range is basically like melee range. For this one, the range extends upwards of like 30 feet, which means ranged attackers, if they're within that 30 feet, you're not flat-footing me. You're not taking my dex modifier and dodge bonus away from me. I can see your fucking ass or sense you. You know, going all shtick, for those of you that follow Daredevil, sorry. Basically, you are aware of their presence, and that keeps you from being flat-footed, which is fucking cool. So this is an upgrade. This is the short version. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it better than Blind Fight? Yes, but you need Blind Fight anyway, so you're getting both. Now let's talk about Greater Blind Fight. Do you want this one? Fuck yeah. I mean, if you can fit it in the build, of course. But again, as a fighter, fuck yeah, you can. You can totally fit that shit in the build. But what does this one do? You still the same thing as Blind Fight and Improved Blind Fight. Nothing's changed there. So if you can ignore 20% mischance, you ignore the 20% mischance. Notice how this one does one further. That 50% mischance gets knocked down to 20%. Now that does not mean, for those of you that are looking for a cheat, that does not mean you get to ignore the 20% of that one. No. It's just making it 20% at this point. So really, 20% concealment is a thing of the past. 50% concealment is now only 20% to you. And if you sadly miss on the first roll, they will still let you re-roll it because you have Blind Fight. So the chances that you will miss when someone has total concealment now is really slim, at least because of the concealment. You can still miss because their armor is awesome and your swing is terrible, but the chance to hit them is much better, put it that way. This one is, again, amazing, and you do want it if you can fit it. Also, notice that the ranged attacker, being invisible and attacking you from range, doesn't have a range anymore. Remember how Improved Blind Fight had 30 feet? This one is basically any ranged attacker. So if someone's laying a bow and arrow way up at that fucking tree that's like 60 feet away and he's trying to shoot at me because he's invisible or concealed or whatever, I'm still aware of you. I see you up there. No, you don't. I'm up here being all quiet. I bet I heard you. You talking, you son of a bitch. So now I know that the arrow's going to come my way, and now I'm not flat-footed. And all kinds of other cool shit besides. So again, good, great, even. Doesn't always make the build. It also comes extremely late in the build because the perception of 15 is also a requirement, which means no one's getting it till here. And that's early case scenario. So again, many people would even push it back to like here and here. And at that point, really, it's kind of like, why bother? The game's almost over. But, yeah, everybody's different. Greater penetrating strikes and penetrating strikes. Again, I've talked about these in the past. I love these. So let's talk about them again. Targets have damage reduction. Damage reduction 2, 5, 10, 25, 23. I've seen weird-ass fucking numbers in Kingmaker, and I'm assuming the same is going to apply here. What penetrating strikes and greater penetrating strikes, which is the big brother version of it, do is it allows you to ignore the first 5, or in greater penetrating strikes case, the first 10 damage reduction a target has. Which means if they have damage reduction 10 or lower, and I have greater penetrating strike, and of course the equivalent penetrating strike, which you have to have before it, I'm ignoring your damage reduction. It does not matter if you have damage reduction 10/magic, 10/cold iron. It doesn't matter if I'm using a magic weapon, a brute force fist, anything. Any attack that I'm doing with my weapon-focused weapon, which you notice you have to have weapon focus for this, is literally going to penetrate through 10. Now, what do I mean by penetrate? It means it lowers it by 10. So if you had 11, now you have 1. Only against me, and only against my weapon-focused weapon, but you can see the appeal. Having said that, someone pointed out to me a while ago, and I want to reiterate it because I do like correcting my mistakes, and they were very polite. They were not insistent. They were just trying to make sure I was correct. So I do appreciate you. I do. They were telling me that in Kingmaker, and they've verified this themselves, your magic weapons at certain stages, like +3 magic weapon, let's just say longsword +3, will actually be magic and good enough to penetrate certain damage reductions because it's baked into the game. They did the same for this game, and it does happen. It is true. You can penetrate adamantine with a +4 or +5 weapon. You can penetrate if they have an alignment restriction, like only chaotic can penetrate their damage reduction. Excuse me, goodness. Getting a sore throat. But getting enough of a plus of a weapon, so +3, +4, +5, is to your benefit. Having said that, the thing that they keep forgetting, that I keep trying to explain to them, is there is nothing in that list that penetrates DR any number, let's say 10, slash dash. If you see slash dash, that means nothing penetrates it. That's a lie, because this will. And I have fought bad guys in Kingmaker, I know for a fact, where I had a +5 weapon and it didn't do shit against their damage reduction. Because I had a whole team, and they all had +5 weapons and just trying to crush that fucker, and they were just absorbing almost all the damage. My fucking Sword Saint that has Penetrating Strike and Greater Penetrating Strike knows how they need fighter levels. This was the last feat I took. Notice how it has fighter level 16? For a Sword Saint, here's fighter level 16. 19 minus 3. That's where I would get fighter level 16 equivalent. And I take Greater Penetrating Strike here if I can on my Sword Saint. And I was chopping through them like butter, because I was ignoring the first 10 of their armor. They probably had like a 11 or 15 or something like that, but it still went down by 10 points, and my attacks were just shredding the shit out of them. Everyone else was like beating them like they're a fucking piñata and just doing like 3, 4, 20 on the random hit. It was like a nice high hit, where usually they're doing like 40, 50, 60 against everybody else up until that fight. And when you feel it, when you get to a grind in Kingmaker, and you're like, what the fuck, my team sucks, and I'm hitting them, 9 times out of 10, it's a damage reduction issue. And if you don't have enough magical weapons, but you did have Penetrating Strike and or both Penetrating Strike and Greater Penetrating Strike, suddenly you walk through that fight like nothing's business. So I love this one. Can't say enough great things about it. Some people differ, and I'm not going to tell you that. Notice, I will say this, notice how it doesn't make you pick a weapon. It just says you have to have weapon focus, and you have to be wielding a weapon that has weapon focus. Now, last point to mention on this one is there is nothing stopping you from getting weapon focus in 2 different weapons or more. Let's say you like wielding a rapier and a dagger just because it looks cool. So you get weapon focus rapier, weapon focus dagger. If you did that and you had Penetrating Strike or Greater Penetrating Strike, both of those weapons, because you have weapon focus in them, would apply this penalty to their damage reduction. Downside, just because I know your brain is probably spinning just like mine did when I come to that conclusion. Sword Saints pick a weapon. It's called the Chosen Weapon. They get specialty training in that weapon, so they literally start at level 1 with proficiency in it. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's an exotic weapon. If I've never come across an Elven Curved Blade in my life, but I pick that as my chosen weapon as a Sword Saint at level 1, suddenly I know how to use it, and I get weapon focus in it for free. And you may think that that's all it takes is weapon focus, and that weapon's in your hand to get all the benefits of a Sword Saint. That's not true. It's the chosen weapon. The reason I mention this is, what if you picked later on, as you leveled up your Sword Saint, and you said, oh, I want to get weapon focus dagger because I'm coming across a lot of those. Yeah, you'll get weapon focus dagger. It will work if you equip just the dagger and get rid of your Elven Curve Blade or whatever was your chosen weapon. You lose all those cool bonuses that a Sword Saint gets. That's like your armor goes up because you have a high intelligence. Your ability to crit is more often, and you get confirmed crits and all that shit. It comes from the chosen weapon, and there's only one, baby. It's like the goddamn Highlander. You literally have to pick that one. Whatever your chosen weapon is, that's the one you're married to, a level 1 Sword Saint. So know that shit. I just wanted to point that out because I made that mistake, and I don't want you guys to go down that road and get all bummed because then I got to respect my character. Damn it. I know, it sucks. Greater Vital Strike. This one falls into 3 feats. So there's Vital Strike, Improved Vital Strike, Greater Vital Strike. And this one people swear by, and I'm trying to understand why. So this will be the last one we finish the video on today. We'll have to do the rest of them later because this is already getting long. But Vital Strike is one that I want to like, and I'm trying to understand why people like it. Well, first, I know that there's a mythic path, or mythic feat, or ability, that can make Vital Strike amazeballs. So to know that. So that's already changing my opinion. But besides that, even in Kingmaker, when we didn't have mythic paths, people would swear by these. And you need to understand what these ones do. It's a lot like Cleave. It's a clickable ability. You have your weapon in your hand, you click it, and you use every action you have to swing at this one target once. Not twice, not 3, 4, 5 times. Doesn't matter if you had the ability to hit them 7 times. You're swinging once and you're done. So then why do it? Well, here's what Vital Strike, Improved Vital Strike, and Greater Vital Strike do. They take that one swing. If you hit, remember you still have to hit. If you hit, let's say you're using a sword that does 1d8 of damage. with Vital Strike, we'll do 2d8 of damage, so double the damage. But only for the sword, not your power attack bonus, not your strength bonus, not any of that other shit. This is why I'm like, I don't see who cares. I mean, who gives a shit? So 1d8 going to 2d8, ooh, ring a ding ding. Well, that's with the Vital Strike. Improved Vital Strike goes up now to triple. So instead of 1d8, now it's 3d8. You see where we're going with this? And of course, Greater Vital Strike now makes it a quad, 4 times the attack damage. So again, if your damage is 1d8, now you're at 4d8 with that one swing and one swing only. Now again, why would you want to do this? Well, if you're only confident you're going to hit once, I'd rather do 4d8 of damage than 1d8, I suppose. But now, why would I only be able to hit once? Well, remember, if I swing 4 times, I'm a fighter, right? Let's just the backpedal here. I'm a fighter level 20. That means my BAB is 20. That means I get an attack at level with a plus 20. Then another one after that, that's plus 15. Then another one after that, that's plus 10. And then a final one after that, that's plus 5. You can see how the last 2 might not hit, right? So I've already lost 2 swings of my damage. But if the first 2 hit, I'm still doing excellent damage because I have power attack or piranha strike, and I got strength or dex adding to my damage. So again, I don't see the appeal. But if I'm going to whiff, and the only real shot I has is I'm been buffed for my very next swing, thinking like a spell like True Strike, as an example. Your very next attack, one attack, not every attack in that round, just the very next swing gets a plus 20 to the chance to hit. And you use Greater Vital Strike, that's 4d8 of damage, baby. And then you add your power attack and all the other shit on top of that. But again, that's not bad. So I'm kind of trying to get into it. But now here's the thing. It doesn't get multiplied on a critical hit. They just add it to the total. What does that mean? Well, if I'm at 4d8 of damage, what does a critical do for your normal 1d8 longsword? It's just double the damage. So that's another 1d8. So now if you did a Greater Vital Strike and it just happened to crit, I'm doing 5d8. Woo. But again, whatever. But, and here's where it gets really cool in this game. There is a mythic path, mythic ability or mythic feat that says Vital Strike Mythic. And I read it and I'm trying to understand it, so make sure I'm saying it right to you guys. That particular feat or ability, instead of it being not multiplied on a critical hit, I believe now it does. And if that's true, holy shit, that would be awesome. So now imagine having Greater Vital Strike, so something that takes, again, like I said, 1d8 sword hit into 4d8, you only swing once. But on a critical hit, and maybe I have a crit fishing build where I have a really good chance of critting, that 48 is double, or maybe in some cases triple, or even quadruple the damage. So 48 turning into 8d8, that sounds a lot fucking better. You see what I'm saying? And again, all I have to do is hit you once, because that's all I got is one swing. So I think this one could, under certain circumstances, be okay. I also have heard, and notice how this one has a high BAB requirement, where Improved Vital Strike has a BAB requirement of only 11. That's still better than a Wizard, by the way. A Purist Wizard finishes at the BAB of 10, way the hell down here. So they're not getting this without a dip into something else. Where the hell did it go? Without some help. But Vital Strike, certainly they'll be able to get that. And Vital Strike is down here, and it is a BAB of 6. So anyone can get that, really. It doesn't take long. 6 for a fighter, for a Sword Saint, or a mid-BAB increased character, that would be, is it 9? No. 3, 6. Level 8. There you go. For a Wizard, or Sorcerer, or anyone that's a pansy, 12 levels Purist would get you access to Vital Strike. So again, why might you want this in another instance? So again, for a fighter, it seems weird, right? Because again, they're going to get multiple swings. Why not hit multiple times? Because you get to apply power attack multiple times to that every fucking hit. So yeah, I'm not a fan. But for a Wizard that can only get, say, like just this one. Remember, at the highest level, they're only getting 2 swings anyway, not counting like spells like haste and shit like that. They're only getting 2 swings. And one's terrible, the other one's worse. So why not just take the terrible one, swing once, hope for the best, because nothing's really changing, swing for the defenses, hope you hit, and now you did double the damage with your weapon only. And the other attack was probably going to miss anyway. So I could see that on those cases. It still seems wrong to me. But that's my take on Vital Strike, Improved Vital Strike, and Greater Vital Strike. And I'm sure people know more than me on this one. So again, I will defer to you guys if you maintain that it is a solid choice. But please explain why down below. I'll do Hammer the Gap, and then we'll call it good, because then we'll start with the eyes next time. And it won't take us long to finish. I mean, it looks bad. It's not that bad, because we're going to finish here. And then in the next video after that, it'll be all the thumbs down, which ain't that much either. So let's talk about Hammer the Gap. What's this one do? This one is literally repeatedly striking the same target. Now, what this one does, this gets confused in my mind with, let's see, what's it called? Clustering shots? It's not here, which means it's down here. Clustered shots, I'm going to compare it to it. Clustered shots is with a bow, or ranged attack, I should say, where you carefully aim and shoot multiple times at the same target with a ranged weapon. So crossbow works, javelin works, you get the idea. But you hit them in the same spot. So think of who's that famous archer motherfucker? Robin Hood. There we go. Jesus. Robin Hood shooting you in the same fucking, like, through the arrow, through the other arrow that he just shot you with, right? Because he's that good of a shot. That's clustered shots. It's penetrating your armor in a way that literally it allows you to add up all your damage first. Now, that one target you're shooting at multiple times, this is why Ekandaya was a monster in Kingmaker. You get clustered shots on him, and he's just shooting you in the fucking same spot over and over and over again in the same combat round. It adds up all his damage once. And then after that, applies the damage reduction again only once. Where normally it'd be for every arrow that hits you. So if his arrow is only doing 10 damage and you have damage reduction 10, each arrow that's hitting you for 10 is doing 0, 0, 0, 0. But if you have clustered shots, it's adding all 3 or 4 or 5 of them up in the same combat round. So 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50, then subtracts 10, so now you're back down to 40. You see how this is a monster killer. That's what clustered shot does. It's amazing for ranged attacks only. People, I think, confuse it with Hammer the Gap because of the way it sounds. But it's the same general principle where you're hitting the same target over and over again. It doesn't specify that it's a melee attack, by the way. And the icon, for those of you that can't make it out, there is arrows there and a sword or pointed blade of some kind there. So literally, it sounds to me like any weapon attack. Where you, again, you just repeatedly hit the same target in the same combat round. Now, what does it do? It doesn't ignore damage reduction. I'll tell you that right now. But if you hit more than once in a row, the first hit does nothing. The second hit, because you already hit once, you add 1 to the damage. Ring a ding ding. Well, but wait, we're not done. You hit a third time in a row in the same round. So a hit, and a hit. So the first hit, nothing special. I mean, it still hits, does damage. Second hit, plus 1 damage. Why? Because you already hit once. Third hit in a row, it does how much damage? 3. Why? Oh, wait, no. 2. Equal to the number of previous consecutive hits. So again, you get 1 for that first hit, 1 for the second hit. So again, I got normal damage, plus 1 damage, plus 2 damage. And as long as I can continue to keep hitting you in the same round, it just keeps going up by 1. Now, why does that sound good? It's more damage. But why does that sound crappy? Because the damage is scaling poorly. And guess what? Your consecutive hits, the minute you miss, it resets the clock. So if you have 6 attacks, you hit the first 3 times, you get a plus 0, plus 1, plus 2. You miss number 4. But then you hit 5 and 6. Well, those are 2 in a row again. But again, it reset the clock. So number 5 did just normal damage. Number 6 did plus 1. Boo. So you may say, well, don't miss. Why would you think of that? That was good advice there, team. Anyway, when is this useful? Let's talk about useful. What if you are in a build where you have multiple, and I mean multiple attacks, not just 3 or 4. Let's get 6, 7, 8, 9 up in his ass. Can you? I can. How can you, Brother Mutant? Well, if you've seen my recent build where I did a 2-weapon fighter, it doesn't have to say the same weapon, just that you are using your full attack in one round to wail on one guy. So if I'm using 2-weapon fighting, improved 2-weapon fighting, and greater 2-weapon fighting, I got 3 more attacks. And I probably had 3 attacks, if not 4, already from the main hand. So that's already up to 7. Cast haste on my ass, I'm up to 8. If I had the Angel Mythic upgrade, where it's called Speed of Light buff, on my main weapon, I get 2 extra attacks instead of 1 from haste. So now I'm up to, what did I just say, 7, 8, 9? I'm up to 9 attacks right now. Choppity, 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 choppity. And if I hit him for, let's say, all 9 in a row, which is unlikely, but let's say I did, and he hadn't died from the first 8. First attack, normal. Second attack, +1. Then I got +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, +7, +8. Add all that shit up. What does that equal? I don't know, but it's a big fucking number. You can see how Hammer the Gap is nice. Is it amazing? No. Why? Because most people will not get 5, 6, 7 attacks in a row off. They routinely will get 3 and then you'll whiff. So again, if you're only getting 3, first one's normal, second one's +1, third one is +2. That's 3 extra damage. Ooh, ring a ding ding. So yeah. But like, now take this on something else that could be fun. How about a monk dip? Where you get like flurry of blows and a speed buff weapon, or like that angel mythic path I just talked about, that speed of light, and you're just comma to his face, or you're punching him with a sai, or nunchaku up the ass, or quarterstaff smacks, or just punching his motherfucking ass repeatedly, and you can get a lot of attacks. I mean, like a lot, like 9 or 10 attacks in a combat round, and they all hit, and they all hit hard anyway. Then you Hammer the Gap. Oh man, it's fucking sexy. Just saying. There's some builds where Hammer the Gap is solid. Which ones would it be? Ones that don't miss often. That's not Wizard or Sorcerer. Let's just fucking say it. Magus, more Fighter, Barbarian, Blood Rager, Paladin, Ranger, Monk. Ones that have a BAB of like 20 by the end of the fucking build or get multi-attacks. And by the way, since that's also can be arrows and ranged attacks, remember, there's ways for you to get extra hits from things like Rapid Shot, Mini Shot, and again, that would key off of this shit. That's an extra attack. So every extra chance to swing and miss is a possible hit. If they all hit, each consecutive hit, the first one's nothing, +1, +2, and on up as you keep hitting. So there is also a monk, for those of you that don't know, because one of the main characters is this. He's a monk, but with a bow. So he has flurry of bows, which I coined the phrase before they even know that that's what they were going to call it. I thought it was funny as shit. And then when it popped up as a feat pick, and I laughed my ass off. Anyway, flurry of bows allows you to pick either a long bow or a short bow at like level 2. And you can flurry, just like you'll get the extra attack, or 2, by the way. Monks get 2 at a higher level with their monk weapon. In this case, the monk weapon is a bow, a long bow or a short bow, your choice. So you just pick one, and you basically you're married to that weapon. Well, that guy can flurry of bows like fucking no one's business. What he can't do, paying attention, is do Rapid Shot. Where are you, little bastard? It's gotta be down here. You can't do this. That's an extra attack. But notice there's a penalty to that swing, -2. There's a way around that as well. Of course, there's always a way around everything. But Rapid Shot, any other bowman can get an extra attack. But the beautiful part for the monk that gets the flurry of bows, they can't take, or they shouldn't, I should say, take this because they don't work together. And B, his flurry of bows is not a -2 penalty to the shot, to any of his shots. And more than that, he gets flurry of bows early levels. That's just 1 extra attack. Later on, as he continues to progress as his monk that has flurry of bows, he'll get another extra attack. So he'll get 3 main attacks at his full base attack bonus because of flurry of bows. So a shot, and all 3 are just as strong as the other. So it's just as likely to hit is my point as the other. And they don't have to take Rapid Shot to do it, and they don't take a -2 penalty that Rapid Shot gives, because that shit sucks ass. So again, Rapid Shot's good for everyone else, but that monk, oh man, he's going to just unleash a shitstorm. And again, would I get Hammer the Gap for him? Not before I get Clustered Shots. That's way better. And again, that's just because you're ignoring damage reduction. And if they don't have damage reduction, this is completely useless. But when they do, this is when Ekin Dio, like I said back in Kingmaker, where he shines, where you're just like, man, this fucking team sucks, and everyone's dying, these guys are hard. And then you're like, I should bring Ekin, because, I like shooting things. So Ekin's here. Suddenly Ekin's just dropping shit like flies, man. He's totally Legolas and up in this place. And he's just killing shit. It's because you gave him Clustered Shots. And if you gave him Rapid Shot, which of course you probably did, and Mini Shot, which of course you probably did, and Deadly Aim, which of course you probably did, and then at the end give him Hammer the Gap, again, you're just adding to his damage potential, right? It would be a maybe pick for me, but it'd be a pick that's down the road, and I would definitely grab it for someone like that that's getting multiple attacks. Hammer the Gap is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Just want to put that out there. So that's the last one I got for you today. Maybe I'll do another video tonight after the temperature calms back down again, because we're starting to get hot in here again. But then I'll do, hopefully on the next video, the rest of these down to the thumbs down. And then I'll do another video in the morning covering these guys. And then the last video, which again, that's not anything in here. The last video, let's just pick something to show you what I'm talking about. The last video will cover, well, I can actually just go back here. These weird things. The ones that are not combat feats, that are not spell casting feats, and teamwork feats that we've already covered. So things like ability focus bomb. Things like, wait for it, selective channel. Lingering performance. We haven't talked about these things yet. You probably know what they are, but again, it's not the point. If they're not combat oriented, they're not spell oriented per se. If they're not teamwork feats, again, we need to talk about them. So again, I'll go through them and tell you what I think about each and every one of those things. There's some weird shit in here, like your specific race stuff, like your blood drinker, your blood feaster, the ones that are for your Oriad builds, the what the hell is it called? It's like the Kitsune, the fox people, the Oriat builds, the Dampier builds, and again, they'll have feats that are specific to just those guys. The ones that are straight up just the skill foci. There's a skill focus for every skill in the game. +3 bonus, +6 bonus if you invest enough points in it. Again, we'll talk about them, what I think about them. Are they worth grabbing? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, again, another fine example, perception is awesome. Trickery, if you need, where'd it go? Trickery, if you need to pick a lock and you know that at the end of the game those lock picking skills really need to be high, this is a solid bonus. If you need mobility because you're going to ride a mount, you can do a lot of cool things with a high mobility stat, as I've shown in a previous video. This is a solid choice then for you. Again, I'll go through them and explain which ones I think are good, which ones are like, you probably don't need that shit. So again, that's another video that's coming later. Here's your Stony. Here's another that's Oriad specific. Why it says prerequisite over here where all the other ones for the Dampier, they said Dampier over here, I don't know. But Stony Step is another example of one that, again, you have to be a specific race, the Oriad. But again, that covers everything, like I said, I want to talk about today. With that, my name is Brother Mean. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. What kind of feature you guys plan on picking for your build? Are you guys going to go min-maxer? Are you guys going to do, role-playing, have a theme in mind? What are you guys going to put in your build? Put that down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.